Do you have any stories that you remember from Colorado when you visited?
No, well, the only story I can remember is Rocky Mountain National Forest. They had a goat, a wild goat that comes up and he eats antifreeze. His cars get hot and eat antifreeze. And when he was there was a ranger sitting in a car right beside him and made sure nobody got around him because he would attack you.
Man.
That's what he said. And he's probably 400 or 500 pound mountain goat. Big. He was a big thing.
Anyway, how do you feel about having the football field named after you?
Well, it's a big honor. It's really a big honor. It was the biggest surprise. But I don't know. It's just a big honor, about as much as you can get.
What were your thoughts whenever you heard the news that you had been named after a football field?
Well, I did. When I heard that, first I heard of it was a board meeting. I left to go to the board meeting and sat there, and they was fooling around, wasn't starting, and people come in, some friends of mine that I knew for a long time, and then a little bit my wife come in. I couldn't figure that one out. Couldn't figure out what she was doing there. Then they had her come up and sit beside of me, and Don and I said the pledge, and then they read the thing where they was going to do that. The first I knew about it, I hadn't heard anything about it. They kept it a secret for about a year, I guess. I don't know how.
I think that'd be a really big honor just to have a football field named after you, or any property at all, really.
Well, it's not the football field. It's the thoughts behind it. I guess more than the football field. I forget that story.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember it now. That happened way back. We was at Big Piney, which was in Colorado, I believe, wasn't it? I think it was in Colorado, and we was just out walking, hiking, and come up on the bear. And of course he run, and the kids were small, and the kids took after the bear, and I took after the kids. I mean, he's a pretty big black bear, but that happened way back. I forgot about that story.
Did the kids ever catch the bear? Did they catch him?
No, we never seen no more of him. Well, we did see him one more time, but.
Now, I've never actually seen a bear, so about how big was he?
Oh, to me, he looked like he weighed 1,000 pounds. He's probably 200 or 300 pounds.
Man.
Yeah, he just a bear or a goat, anything wild animals that you're kind of scared of looks twice as big as they are.
What did you think about the space race that the Russians had against the U.S.?
Well, that just made both countries advance quicker than they would. They would have both advanced if there was a space program if it hadn't got into a race. I mean, that's like you going down the road in a soccer game. If you're playing a soccer game, you're being competitive. And that's the same thing as a space program, just like a sports program. Us and Russia got into more of a political than it was a real race, but that just drove both countries to hurry up and get a space program. Now what do they do with the space program? Nothing.
Yeah,
you think about it. What do? They ain't done nothing.
They haven't been doing stuff for years now.
The space program did do a lot. That computer right there is all from the space program. all this technology you got on the phones and so on is all come out of the space program. That's where it all come from.
Do you think you think competition is a good thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I say. That competition is what made the space program, or what made all the technology you got today.
Yeah, it seems like all this stuff, like the phones and the iPads, just came out within maybe the past 20 years. A lot of it is still fairly new. So it seems like that within the next 20 years, we're gonna start having all these like holograms, as some might call them, where they're just like a projector that projects a 3D image.
Well,
They're
who knows?
advancing so quickly.
Who knows where we'll be at in another 20 years? Who thought we'd be what we advanced in the last 20 years? Who thought that would come about? All the computers. You don't know. You know, over the generations, over time, you have people that advances, and then the next group may not advance as much. So, you know, do I think we'll have as much change in the next 20 years as we had the last 20? No, I don't think. It might be more.
I mean, who knows what's coming next?
Yeah.
It's just hard to tell.
We lived way out in the country, and we had blackout. Now we put stuff over the windows. Now, of course, we had lamps, if you know what a lamp is for lights, and they had hardly make enough light to shine out of the window. I don't know why we worry about it, but we did. During the you never heard of the Visco plant? It was a plant in Parkersburg. They had a horn or siren that you could hear for 30 miles. And we could hear it out where we lived. And when they had blackout, they'd blow that siren, what they call the old Visco siren. And we could hear that siren, and we put drape. I don't remember what we put, sheets or whatever we put up over the windows. So at night, the light. So if they did come over and bomb, you know, you wouldn't have lights. Of course, we lived far out in the country. They never want to bomb us anyway. But
What did you and Lester eat?
My uncle brought him out to my house one night. He came, I mean, they didn't come for me. He just came in to visit family, and he was with him. And then later on, it was close to my birthday, and the neighborhood girls, a couple of them, threw a surprise birthday party. And they invited him and a couple boys he knew and some more kids from our neighborhood. And so actually about that time. And he would have been 12th grade in school, and I was a junior.
All right. Is there anything you can remember from your childhood, like when you were younger?
Well, you were talking about Lester talked about the blackouts. I remember rations. You had little tokens and little tear-off strips and things. And I remember my family using them when they bought certain items in the stores. And I assume it was when the war was declared over, the same Visco siren. We lived on South Side at that time, and I can remember the sirens and the bells and everything else ringing, and everybody coming out and walking up and down the street. And Mom always said it was at the end of the war, so that's what I think it was. But other than no, I don't remember anything about the war. And I remember, but Mom, it seemed to me like we put something over the windows every night. I lived in town, though. So that was the blackout.
It sounds like for some of the older people who knew it was going on, it'd be rather scary. Just to
It
think.
probably was for some of the older people.